Watch fans, today we're going to do a little how-to on the Yacht-Master II. Stay tuned. Watch fans, welcome back to Swiss Watch Expo. We're looking at the Yacht-Master II, how to do. So we're going to look today at how we want to set this watch. I know that it's one of those pieces that we all fell in love with. The fact that it was retired actually makes us feel some kind of way in our heart, especially for me. This was actually one of the newest introductions when I first began my Rolex career. So it was a piece that has always had close ties to me, and I am absolutely always going to be a fan and a loyalist to this brand. This particular watch, when we look at it, it actually has some features on there that are going to be a little bit different, and it was the most advanced Rolex of its time. This piece is actually going to be a predecessor or going to be before you would actually have your Sky Dweller. So this watch being the most complicated at its time, people went, well, what does it do? It's a countdown regatta. Regatta is actually going to be used for yacht racing. And when you're using that regatta, what it is you don't want to cross certain points before certain times or you're penalized. So this would actually allow us a countdown timer that allowed us to actually get to where we wanted to be within a certain amount of time. Am I professional enough to do it? No. Are you? Maybe. But when you're talking about controlling an over 75-foot craft, you have to know what you're doing. So this is going to be that piece that's a true professional item that's really going to give you that cutting edge above. What I absolutely love about it was the ceramic blue bezel. Think about how hard it is to actually make a bezel that color. When you're talking about baking and creating a ceramic bezel this color, that is something that is not going to be easy to do. You're going to look at, on average, 1 out of 300 of those bezels actually making it through the whole process. Yes, that's a lot of waste, but when it can actually be used as a professional tool, which is what this watch is, it's always worth it. The bezel itself actually rotates. It's a command ring bezel, so it does shift from left to right, locking and unlocking the actual features themselves. So what we want to be able to do is, when we're not using the feature, it should actually be turned to the right. We can then use the pushers, and the pushers will allow us to start and stop the chronograph. To actually be able to change the time on the regatta, what we would actually have to do is, we're going to rotate the bezel to where it is open, which means all the way to the left. And then we're going to actually push or engage on the bottom button. That bottom button is then going to allow us to control the regatta itself. And it's actually going to be able to move from side to side. Good. And it does actually go counterclockwise. This is done so that it doesn't interfere with the actual movement of the watch. You don't have to worry about the wheels catching each other and the teeth breaking easily. So when we do this, again, by turning it, it's going to go counterclockwise. Once we've decided on what we want to use as our countdown timer, which in this case, we're going to leave it at the 9. We're actually then going to use that time, and we're going to change the bezel by turning it. When you turn it back to the right, it's going to close. That is how you close the regatta. You will know that it's closed because the bottom button is actually going to close off as well. It's going to push itself back out to make it usable as a timer. Now, when we actually start it at the top, you can see that the second hand with that beautiful fire engine red is now running. That's going to go around, and it'll be 60 seconds for a minute, again, as your regatta has a countdown timer. So I want you to remember, you can't use the function until you turn back to close the feature, and then you will see that your bottom pusher or your reset pusher will then pop out. That's how you know it's in the proper mode. I do get people who call in and they say, well, Ro, it's actually stuck. Both buttons are pushed in. Nothing is moving. What do I do? It's very, very, very easy. The only thing you have to do is turn your bezel. Will you feel resistance on it sometimes? Yes, you will. Will there be other times where it is actually smoother? Yes, there will be. Most times when you feel that resistance, that means that the chronograph or the countdown timer had actually not been stopped properly. And because it wasn't fully engaged when it stopped, you didn't completely start, stop, and reset it. It likes to kind of lock up in there because it doesn't want the feature to damage itself. It's almost like a counteractive tool, or what we would call a vertical clutch. Now, I'm not saying this one is a vertical clutch, but for what the feature does. A vertical clutch's job is to push it back up so that you don't have to worry about the teeth breaking. That's exactly what you're getting in this one. It's going to give that resistance because it wants to make sure you don't have to go ahead and pay for that $1,200 or $1,100 service. What I absolutely love about this watch too, when we speak of service, this is a watch that you're looking at servicing every 5 to 7 years is the suggested time by Rolex. For most people, they go, well, why move from 3 to 5 years to 5 to 7? Some of it's going to be with oils, but other features of it is that Rolex hasn't had enough of this watch in for service. So that way you can move the service intervals, hence why now the actual warranty is even longer. Because of course, the less time that it's in the shop, the more time it's on your wrist, the more enjoyable that item is. If you have any questions about this watch, please reach us here at Swiss Watch Expo. Leave your comments down below. And remember, before you get started with anything else on this watch, the first thing I want you to do is wind it about 40 to 60 turns. Your manual may say 20. We have human hands. We cannot do a full turnaround unless you were to sit it on its side. So I want you to do quick 40 to 60 turns and give a little speed to it. Remember, the watch is storing the energy from your hand into the watch. So you actually want to make sure that that transfer goes smooth and complete by giving it a little speed to it. Again, any questions that you have, let us know in the comments below or give us a call here in the store. We thank you for choosing Swiss Watch Expo and stay tuned for the next show.